Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This comes from Mr. Mister. In 1 month, the highly anticipated Moon Knight series comes out on Disney+. This is definitely my most anticipated Marvel show this year, and from everything we've seen so far, it does not look like it'll disappoint. Not too long ago, Empire magazine gave us our first look at Mr. Knight, and now we have a brand new poster dedicated to this character. I'm a bit confused, as I thought the eyes were meant to be glowing, but what are your guys' brief thoughts on this poster? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Mr. Mister. And yeah, like Rob was pointing out earlier, the countdown clock has begun. We are within the month. 29 days from Moon Knight dropping. One of the most interesting releases I think that Disney has done on their platform so far. This is, I mean, we say this a lot with Eternals, with Shang-Chi. Again, this is another something coming from Marvel that is very different from a lot of the stuff that Marvel has ever put out before. And it's a character that the vast majority of the average movie-going, television-watching audience has never heard of, and that's Moon Knight. And yes, we just got a new image of what they're calling Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight.
In this, and a lot of people have questions. Wait a minute. What is Mr. Knight? Why doesn't he look like Moon Knight? Is this a different character altogether? Is this another one of the personalities? Well, the good news is we happen to have somebody in the room that happens to get a little bit of a stiffy whenever you mention Moon Knight and knows a whole lot about him. And that is
little bit. Come on now.
Little bit. A rager. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is here. So, Rob, we got this image. First of all, this image looks really cool. Like if you didn't know anything about anything and you just came across this image, you think that's a pretty good bondage costume, I guess, I suppose. I don't know. But it's a cool looking outfit. Who is Mr. Knight? What is the significance of this picture? What is it we're looking at? And how do you think this fits into the Moon Knight show we're going to be watching here?
Okay, it's hard to... Moon Knight has had very many different iterations from his original conception in 1975. The Moon Knight persona has undergone... Anyway, in 2014, writer Warren Ellis, who did things like Planetary, and I want to say artist Declan, I think it's Shalvey? Declan Shalvey took on Moon Knight. And they basically wrote a very different kind of a comic that dealt with Moon Knight's fractured personalities being put back together. And at first you thought that Khonshu, the actual spirit of Khonshu, was trying to obliterate all of Moon Knight's personalities so Khonshu could actually take over Mark Spector's body and live on Earth. Turns out that wasn't the case. This iteration of Moon Knight, the Mr. Knight character, came about in that series. And in Warren Ellis's run, it started out as a series of short stories. And this Mr. Knight character kind of existed in a netherworld where there was like the undead on the streets of New York. And it was very, very surreal and very strange, but very cool. And it turns out that it wasn't really Khonshu. And Mark Spector did gain control over his own mind again and was liberated. So this Mr. Knight character really represents, and it bodes well for the show, because if they go in the weird surreal realm where he existed in this bizarre alternate reality where our reality was very different than the normal reality and he's in this Mr. Knight persona, it's going to get wild. Like, because this character, this Mr. Knight persona existed in a world that was not quite our reality. It was all in his mind, but it's still amazing. So now remember, this character, this version of Moon Knight was introduced in 2014. So Moon Knight had been around for almost 40 years before this iteration of the character existed.
What do you think about the look? Because we're getting a good look at this image right now. What do you think of it?
The Moon Knight thing with the mummy wrap, they've got they took the bandages of a mummy and they made this suit, his normal costume and this suit out of it. I like it. I think it's really cool. I mean, I loved Moon Knight in a natty white 3-piece suit with this mask over his face. But the fact that they're adding to this Egyptian mummy motif is interesting. I like it. I think it looks great.
Chris, you had a chance to take a look at this image, which I think looks absolutely I mean, I would watch a whole show just based on this persona, like just right out. But you had to take a chance to take a look at it. What do you think?
I'm very excited about this. I think this looks really, really rad. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Rob, too, because I know obviously your Moon Knight knowledge is much more extensive than mine. This is also, even though he's doing wild things like punching the undead and fighting ghosts, he's also more of like the detective consultant persona.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So I think that's a really interesting thing to throw into the mix here, too, is because we have all this otherworldly stuff, but then we have somebody who is a bit more grounded, who is doing some crime solving and doing some logistical reasoning throughout all of this too.
Yes.
Which is just another fun layer we're adding to the show.
Well, what it tells me is that I think we're gonna get the whole gamut of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be an interesting. They're basically gonna compact 50 years, almost 50 years of Moon Knight history into one storyline, which is gonna make it. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see the West Coast Avengers in this show, but it's gonna be very interesting to see what they do.
All right. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this new image of Mr. Knight? I think it looks awesome. What are you guys thinking about it? Are you excited for the show? 29 days away. Are you anticipating it? Do you still not know whether you're into it or not? Whatever you guys are thinking right now, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.